What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Nightmares Podcast, where we talk about all things horror, movies, music, television shows, art, and in this case, podcasting. We've had quite a few podcasters on, and we're going to continue the tradition. I'm, of course, here with my partner in crime, Mr. Zachary Smith.
What's up?
And then we have Jordana of Pretty Killer Podcast on. If you'd be so kind to introduce yourself and what you're all about.
Yes. Hi, guys. I'm Jordana. I'm the host of Pretty Killer Podcast, half host of Feature Creatures DTF. I started the show about a year ago. Have no idea what I'm doing. Still don't know what I'm doing, but it's fun. So there's that. Season 2 is going to be out in April. So look for that. And yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Don't worry, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. It's all a giant guessing game on what exactly we're all doing here. We just do the best we can.
Exactly.
So you are going to be a part of a wonderful tradition that we have here on the Nightmares Podcast. We always kick it off with one question and one question only, which is, when did horror enter your life?
So for me, horror entered my life pretty young. I was born in Orlando, and my mom worked at Disney. My dad actually worked at Disney, so I was always there. The Haunted Mansion was my jam. Universal, Ghostbusters, Jaws, Beetlejuice, heavy influences. So that was like the stepping stone into hardcore horror, I guess you could say. And the first horror movie I ever watched was When a Stranger Calls.
Nice.
So,
nice.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I think about it and I wish I would have seen like Jason first or something of that nature, because When a Stranger Calls is so realistic and terrifying in the first scene. So that kind of like traumatized me in a good way, because that like sparked my interest in horror, I guess you could say. But yeah, that was my introduction, I guess.
And so you have some douchebag YouTuber come on and say, like, the technology that they're claiming to have in that movie was not the case in the 70s at all. They couldn't possibly do what they did in the movie. And then you're like, oh, thanks for ruining my childhood, jackass. Because at least, with Jason and Freddy, Zack was introduced to Friday the 13th at a very young age, and and he always knew that was fucking fake. He only got banned from watching Jaws because that shit's real. And now his favorite movie, one of his favorite movies, big shark fanatic.
That's one of my favorite movies too. And growing up in Florida, I had like the pool, like those memes of the pool with the great white shark at the end of it, like your irrational childhood fear. That was me, like, because I'd swim in the ocean, but then I'd go into a pool and I knew nothing was going to happen, but I'd open my eyes and have the Hooper scene when he's in the cage, where he's like blinking and the shark is coming like into the frame. I would have that in the pool and I'd be like, oh, like swim to the shallow end. So
you do know the behind the scenes of that, like that was a midget in those like wide shots.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, it was a midget. They literally they wanted to make the shark look bigger, because it was in some of those shots it was a real shark, and they did it as a joke. They're like get a midget and put him in a cage, and they're like, that'll make the shark look bigger.
It's brilliant, but I did not know that, and that is fantastic. That's wonderful.
And on top of that too is in the book, Hooper dies. They changed that because there was real life footage that's in the film when the shark goes inside the cage and like tears it the fuck up. That's a real shark. So that footage was so compelling. And also, too, the midget stunt guy wasn't in the cage to simulate the death, which that just freaks me the fuck out all by itself, because I'm like, were they expecting that midget to die? Because I saw the footage. Like, if somebody was in that cage, they'd be fucked. So I'm like,
that was brutal. That part was super brutal. And like, another thing, I didn't realize that it was a real shark in that scene, but it's just so like, it just is so terrifying.
Right.
But now it's ruined because I know that there's because of that.
Leave it to me to ruin everyone's fucking childhood. Zack knows I've ruined some childhoods.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is like it's kind of it's still but if you really think about it though, it's kind of fucked up
Yeah.
that they're most likely gonna let a midget die
I
for entertainment.
at the hands of the greatest movie ever made.
and I'm like there's got to be a joke of like they're only half a citizen. Some of my best friends are midgets. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna get canceled by tomorrow. So anyway, I'd like to get more audience members, not lose them, but here we are.
Yeah.
Anyway though, I definitely love that about when a stranger calls, and that's what are some of the things that kind of led you into other things after the fact? What were you getting into as a teenager, and what kept it going for you?
So like my grandparents were pretty much like my other parent. They were super strict about shit. So I wasn't like allowed to, like, I wanted to go to Halloween Horror Nights the first year that it came out. And I was like begging to go. And I got shot down by my grandma. And I was just like, ah, and it was horrible. But like Halloween was a big influence on my life. Jaws, Friday the 13th, like all of the older classics were, in the mix. Sleepaway Camp was one that I just picked at the video store and had no idea what the fuck I was getting into. And we're like in my room with my girlfriends watching it. And I'm just like, the end scene is, classic.
Yeah.
And then it just spiraled. Like I obviously watched other things, but horror has always been there. So
I had it with somebody I met somebody who was talking to one of the people from one of the conventions one time, and she was letting me know a funny story. She's like, "That's the first time I ever saw a penis." And I'm like, "That's probably not the way that you want to be introduced to that." But okay, I have a hot take though on Sleepaway Camp.
Okay,
it's essentially a Friday the 13th ripoff, like almost beat for beat. Like Friday the 13th did it first and arguably did it better. I think that I have there's another movie that I'm blanking on that I absolutely love, which is hilarious because I can't remember the damn name.
I bet I know what it is.
It's the famous shot with the scissors that go down in the sunlight. What's the name?
So just to go into it, because it's exactly what it is, but that was my hot take, is that The Burning is better than the 13th.
Yeah, the Burning I think is better than Friday the 13th, the original. But that's my hot take.
That's mine too.
I know that there's other people that would disagree with me, very very much. But that's it is what it is. Everybody has their own opinions, and they're most of them are full of shit. Anyway, so obviously so just so you know, I'm a massive Halloween Horror Nights fan. I've been going there since 2009. It was a big thing. Nice. Big thing. We've actually gone the last 2 years all together, and we've done reviews on both the different ones. And I'm a massive fan. When did you finally, being a Floridian, when did you finally get to go?
So this is like heartbreaking to say, but we went back for our honeymoon, my husband and I, in 2016. So and honestly, like I felt like it was fate, like it was full circle meant to be, because we got Halloween 2, Texas Chainsaw, Krampus, I'm blanking, Walking Dead. There was another big one. Oh, The Exorcist, duh. Mm-hmm. And they had the Fisherman or Dead Man's Wharf. They had it as the scare zone instead of the house. Like last year. So we got to go for that, and we got back at like 2:30 in the morning, and we cried. It was just such a fucking amazing experience. Like we got drunk at the Duff Garden. I peed my pants at Texas Chainsaw because we were like the first people in that house. And so we walk in, and like grandpa hits the person, and he comes out, Leatherface comes out with a chainsaw. My husband beelines it and takes off. I'm like, the fuck? And then I get chased by Leatherface, and I don't remember the house because literally I was booking it, and the guards are just like pointing for us to go, and I'm like, I know, and I'm running out, and I finally make it, and I like the wheelchair kind of ramps that they have when you're exiting some of the houses. he was standing on the platform and I'm walking out with the map and I'm trying to get the fuck away from there. And he me and I didn't fully pee, but it was horrible. I was so taken back by it. And I will openly admit it because it was amazing. It was such a good house, but it was a great night. It was awesome.
Sounds like you had a better time than we did at the what was it, the Leatherface one that happened 2 years ago?
Yeah. Oh yes, that was in New York, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in it was in the New York area. The I'm definitely with Zach on that one. I think it could have been a lot better. Actually, Zach had a better idea about how it could have been better, and I actually 100% agree with it. Go.
So the way you described what happened is essentially what I want to happen. Is you get chased by Leatherface the entire time you're going through the house. It's like you're all right. Everybody has to go in at their own time, so it's like you send in a group and you wait at least maybe a good 10 to 15 seconds before you send the next group in. And it's like you wait 3, 2, 1, and you just tell the group run, and then you're being chased by Leatherface the entire time, or maybe other family members. I thought that would be a great idea, but they're not going to do that because of the damn conga lines and shit. So, yeah.
Okay, and here's my take on that too. I feel like when we went in 2016, because when I talk about going up there and being able to run through this house, I feel like people are looking at me like bullshit because we all know how crowded houses are. You're like literally walking with groups of people at a turtle pace and you're seeing everything. So it's not really scary unless you get to a house that doesn't have a crowd. But here, when we walked up, there was one dude with like a backpack and he's booking it. And we kind of wanted to stay back because we wanted him to go first. And we get to the stairs and he's like, go ahead. And we're like, fuck, no.
Fuck you.
And my husband's just looking at me. He's like, this was your idea. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go in and we're just standing there. And then that happened. And I wish I could remember it because the smell was fucking god awful, but it was perfect because it's what you would imagine you'd be in a Texas Chainsaw house.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what I would hope for a Texas Chainsaw Massacre house.
Exactly.
Right. So like that house was amazing. Halloween 2 was so cool to like be in the transition piece of like the back alleys going into Haddonfield Memorial, like all of that. That was fucking badass. The Exorcist was great, but there is when we had the line problem and it was just coldness with like old people farts because there was so many people and everyone was like farting and I'm like, this is
that's like, a real hot take.
Sounds disgusting.
It probably was the and then and speaking of, I'm too fucking old for them lines, man. I don't know how I did it when I was 19. And I just bullshitted around, man. I can't do it anymore. Like literally, and I'm gonna bring up some almost a nerve with fucking Zack about the Halloween line. I saw
that rant.
It was okay. So all right, Zack told the story. I will tell the story now.
It wasn't even 5 minutes, and the line was already an hour and a half long.
Yes, we were walking into the fucking park, and it was an hour. Don't get me wrong. It was a good house. It was a good house. It wasn't a fucking cream your pants amazing fucking house. It was a good solid house. There's a lot of it I liked about it. I loved the house. I really loved the screen playing the original up on the screen. That was cool. But there's only two things that I can think of that I would have waited that long for. One was Beetlejuice the year before. Because it was fucking awesome. We had a blast. We were just. Were you there that year?
We went that year.
We all loved Beetlejuice. It was so much fun, and we danced our way through the whole thing. And the second one,
we started the conga line for that one,
where it's appropriate to have a conga line. And all these fucking Gen Zers are like, "What's going on? I don't know. What is this? I don't know." And we're like, "You guys are no fun at all. Stick mud." Seriously. But the other one was definitely Dead Man's Wake, it was Dead Man's Wake.
Dead Man's Wharf.
Dead Man's Wharf.
Yeah,
fucking
that house
unbelievable.
I was visually just blown away, but that one was one of the most scares that we got because we went with my in-laws, my father-in-law is in a wheelchair. So the lines, like we had the pass to go through, but we still waited just as long as fucking everyone else. So, and then when we went, it was torrential downpour the first night. So we got through Legends, waited 2 hours under the ET awning, not even like the full cover. Like they moved us to the store awning. So we were, under that. And then I think we did Bug House, and it was like our feet were fully submerged in the water. So we went back the next night. But Dead Man's Wharf.
Yep.
That house was like number one on my list.
Breathtaking.
I loved it.
Absolutely breathtaking. It reminded me of like Stephen King with a little bit of the John Carpenter's Fog, with maybe a dash of BioShock mixed in the middle there, and it was just breathtaking. And I think that the only other house that was just as immersive that I really enjoyed was Bugs.
I loved Bugs.
Yeah, Bugs was solid.
And when I saw the lineup, I was like, like it didn't seem like it was going to be something that would, like, I was more excited for the weekend, and I felt kind of, I don't want to say like let down by the weekend, because I was really excited that they were incorporating a different type of music into Horror Nights. Like, I know that was a huge debate because a lot of people were like, the weekend doesn't fit in Horror Nights, which, some of his videos are pretty fucked up in that regard. But like, I think it was fun to incorporate it, but I think it kind of fell flat. Like, if you're going to do a risk like that, make sure it's fucking scary. Don't make it like a lizard in a dance club.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like my take on that. So
we were definitely confused by that whole thing.
Yeah, if I was gonna pick one word, confused. And I had seen and by the way, I was already really fucking sick of the weekend by that time, because they kept on playing and playing and playing the music over and over and over.
If you sat in the line, you were already tired of it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
and
then you get into
exhausting.
the house and you're just like, oh my god, more.
I was like,
more of this.
Don't give a fuck about the weekend anymore. Like at all. There's some things I know why they're doing it. Like, they're trying to bring in the kids. Like, I get it. They're trying to bring in the kids, and they're trying to bring in that next generation into it, and and I get it to a degree. But again, that house wasn't for me. That's like somebody talking about like a romantic comedy or whatever, or like a hardcore. And I enjoy occasional chick flick, but sometimes I'm not. I know that fully well that I'm not the target demographic of that movie. So when I walked in, I'm like, I'm not the target demographic of what's going on in here. I get it.
Yeah, my kid was like, shimmy bopping, chippy chopping, doing this. And she's 9, and I'm telling you what, this kid went through every single house with us, and I was like trying to protect her, but I'm like, and she's just like, mom, and she was looking at everything, and I saw her just like smiling and absorbing it all, and she was having such a good time. And we're like, I wasn't peeing my pants, but my sister-in-law, she loves Halloween, but Michael Myers scares the ever-loving shit out of her. So she's in the back screeching. I'm screeching just because like Dr. Loomis is there. And my favorite part of the Halloween house, and this is so trivial, but when they played Loomis doing, Lonnie, get your ass away from, remember when he like whispers that line about Lonnie getting his ass away from there? When I heard it over the thing, I was like, this is the best thing ever. So
that is pretty cool. I think the one that I really enjoy. I think that there's a secret about Halloween Horror Nights that a lot of people sometimes miss, but I've always told them. Scariest houses are the unique houses, not the property houses. It's always going to be that way. It always has been that way. And I would actually even dare to say that most of the unique houses of Halloween Horror Nights are the best ones, with a handful of exceptions. Probably only 2 that I can really think of that are Beetlejuice and maybe Halloween. Halloween was a good house, but also The Haunting of Hill House was tremendous.
So yes, but I agree with you. I think the bigger IPs, obviously, it's like a nostalgic part. Like, you get to be in there, and I think that like really is important to some people. But like you said, the Bug House, Descendants of Destruction, I actually loved that one. I thought that house was really, really good. Bug House was one of my favorites. I didn't really like Spirits of the Coven. I thought that one kind of fell flat.
Very flat, very, very flat. You know what? Here's what I will say though is Zack and I had a awesome time at the Chupacabra house. Because we walked in with a bunch of like late teen, early 20 girls, and it was really entertaining to watch them. They just fucking just screamed the entire time. It was so, but it wasn't like, like sometimes you feel bad for somebody that scream. No. This was just really, really fucking funny. And
you're like pointing to them.
and like I remember there was a haunt actor that literally just came out. Yeah. And like they just all fainted. And he was like 5 feet away from them. It was a whole big area. And then he slowly started going forward. And he actually broke character because we were laughing so hard. Zack and I. We were dying. He went, yo. It was so funny.
That's awesome to see, though.
Oh yeah, no, the people watching is fucking amazing.
It's also the only place I got attacked by linens.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did get attacked by linens.
There's a fucking mechanical rat there, and I'm just completely focused on it. And out of nowhere, this bed shoots out of a wall, and like these covers fly on me. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I
got attacked by linens? How?
Entire fucking trip perfectly fine, except attacked by linens. So and like, okay, so I have a question. Because we're all horror experts. Zack never gets got. I only have like a handful of things that you get got besides the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, situation that you had. What's the situation with Halloween Horror Nights where you really got? And you're like, oh shit, I can't believe I got.
Oh my God. And it's ridiculous. There's 2, and I'll reference the first one. It was in Beetlejuice with the dress, when the dress, did it drop when Lydia was at the end, and it either popped up or dropped, and it got me. And I don't know, because it wasn't scary, but it literally took me by surprise, and I was like, ah! And I was so embarrassed afterwards. I was just like, I knew that was happening. Like I turned beet red, and I was like, oh my God. And then another one was the Black Phone. I don't know. I wasn't about Blumhouse. Like I wasn't excited for Freaky or Black Phone. Not saying that I didn't like the movies, but I just didn't know what they were going to do with Black Phone. And that we got the most scares out of that house. Like sincere, like I don't even remember what the scares were, but it was just constant. And my daughter was just like, ah. And when we walked out, she said that she actually was genuinely scared in that house, which blew me away because I wasn't expecting it from that one.
Yeah, that is surprising.
I will say that one was probably the biggest surprise because I didn't know what to expect. And when you're going through it, I'm seeing all freaky. I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is just a freaky house. And then we walk outside, and I'm like, well, that was short. And then I'm like, wait, oh, this is a 2-part house. All right, you have my attention. And I love that. That caught me off guard. I had a great time going through that one. It was a fun time, great house. Do that more often. Do shit like that more often. I like that.
Exactly.
It's nice to see the merging. And then another one that got me was Krampus. And I know like we just said like the originals are like the more scary, but in Krampus, the kitchen scene with the nail gun, I got the nail gun, the poof of air to the face, and that fucking sucked.
Yeah, that sounds like it sucked. I think when we went through Black Phone, we had some genuine child labor law concerns when we were walking through.
Oh yeah, because we actually saw what looked to be children. We think look, if children can be haunt actors, cool. I personally don't give a shit, but I'm just wondering, are they allowed to do that?
I was like,
I don't think they are.
Yeah,
I really don't think so.
I was like, isn't it past your bedtime? Like, it's like midnight. Like,
they had us fooled. That's for damn sure.
it was just so ridiculous. I think that one interesting thing though, you talked about the nostalgia lens. I only had nostalgia for one house, and that was the Cabin in the Woods house. That was the one house I didn't go through like I normally do, where I know all the angles and this. I was like, no, I'm just gonna go through this house genuinely because I love Cabin in the Woods so much. I'm like, I'm just gonna go through this and have a good fucking time. And I remember my cousin, who I started this whole thing with, he had never seen it before, and he was so confused. He's like, why were all those monsters everywhere? What were they doing there? I don't know what's going on. I was entertained, but I don't know what's going on. This is weird.
That's awesome though that he had no idea and got to go through it. I would have loved to. What year was that?
That was I think that was 14. I think that was 14. The right around that time. The I think it was 14 or 13, somewhere in that realm. The I do know when it and then we had another great thing with my cousin. He we got caught in the conga line at Haunting of Hill House, and he got caught right when the bent neck lady in the hologram kept going down and down and down and down. He's like, can we move forward so I can stop watching this lady kill herself? They made the whole fucking line like crack the fuck up. It was so funny. And he was dead serious too. It was and I can only remember like one legitimate time. I take that back. 2 legitimate times, because Zack will call bullshit on me because he knows the one legitimate time that I got.
You're goddamn right, I do.
The one time was in back in I think 2016 or 15 with the Dogs of War. And there was a room that I went into that had these giant like Mario pipes, like the big ones, and I walked in and it was all over the room, and somebody in front got from a pipe that was there. And then I saw that. I looked up and there's no one there, obviously. And I was like, you know what? I bet you there's one right behind me. And I turn around and that dude had extended himself all the way out, and his face was right here, yo. and I jumped like a cartoon cat. Like there was no way getting out of that one. Like that guy earned his paycheck that evening. Like he was all the way extended out. He
was out for you. He saw you and he's like, I'm getting this fucker.
Yeah. Because he knew I stopped, because I stopped to look around, and he knew I was going to turn around. He had good instincts. The other one was at arguably one of the scariest houses that I've ever seen. Probably and they were both in the same year, and tied with the pumpkin one where you go inside the pumpkin. Was 2020, whatever. 21. Thank you. And then the other one was Puppet Theater. Puppet Theater was fantastic in every possible way. And as we were going through the house, my fiance, God love her, she loves scary things, but she just does not do well with haunted houses and people jumping at her. But she loves every other aspect of it, so she braves it. And she wanted to stay with the conga line. And I'm there also, I'm enjoying it, and I'm spotting people and everything else. And I'm like, halfway through, I'm like, you know what? I'm supposed to be working. I'm supposed to be actually reviewing these, so I should probably pay attention to what the fuck's going on. And then we get into the room, and you might remember the room. It was the makeup room, and they had all the old mirrors. And all the lights went out. And there was a very, very specific sound when that happens. There's 2 sounds. The second one was breaking of glass. The first one, though, was that sound when you flip on a light switch and the light bulb goes out, and it's that crack. That happened to me when I was like 7, and I got freaked the fuck out when I was 7 about it because I'd never heard that noise before. And that happened, when I heard that noise, I'm not a big tough 31-year-old man anymore. I'm a 7-year-old little boy. And then when the shattering of the glass came through and that dude jumped right out of the mirror, I jumped and was really fucking scared. My fiance, on the other hand, decided to do what you did, which was exit stage left very quickly and run the fuck out, because I was stopping and the whole crowd in front of us was gone. And then that happened, and then I could just hear her scream, "Go!" And then she just runs right past me. And the funny thing, and the bad part is, after I was done being scared, I was dying, laughing. And then I felt bad, and then I chased after. And then Zack is trying to get footage, and he's doing the whole tricky thing where he has his GoPro in here, and then he closes it. And then we're his coverage, and then he runs away, and he's like, "Oh my God, get the fuck back! You're supposed to be covering me." Then he's running. A bunch of fucking idiots. They running through this house.
Like, what the hell's going on?
The security guards probably get a kick out of all of us. We're all nuts. I just remember that so clearly. And I just remember how it was one of those like scared to mad, some
Yes.
the ladies, like, they get that scared, but they also get that mad. But
they do the
laughter.
Yeah,
But it's also sometimes really fucking hilarious. So I just died of laughter, and she was not happy with me. She just ran off. But yeah, that house was unbelievable. It was fantastic in every way.
That was a great house. But like, so here's the thing with 2021, when we went with we did like an adult trip, and ended up, I don't know if I think I got COVID up here, but I thought it was just like sinus stuff. And when we were down there, we were drinking, and it didn't faze me. Like, I felt fine. And then the second night, I was just like, oh man, I need to get like pop a Benadryl because I feel like I'm congested here. And we were day drinking in the heat. And when we got home, I tested positive, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, but I mean, we still had to wear masks. You know what I mean? Like, it was still that, but I feel like the second night stuff kind of like blurred and slurred together. And I wasn't sure if it was the drinks or if it was just like the continual going. Cause I mean, when you guys went down, did you guys do the parks?
Yeah. I mean, we did a little bit of the parks. I think the first and second time. Do you remember, Zack? I think it was the second time that we did the parks.
Second time I know we did the parks. First time I don't remember what the hell we did.
I remember what it was. Oh, by the way, yeah, I have to remember this now because my fiance was remembering that she had dinner with my mother, who lives down there in Orlando. And she's like, we couldn't for the life of me remember where the fuck I was. And I had to go through a year's worth of text messages to find out that I was at Disney at Star Wars Land with him.
Oh my God.
I could not for the life of me remember where the fuck I was. And then and I was like, oh yeah, I was just hanging out with Zack. Like, we went to go to Star Wars, and Zack, almost cried because he got to build his own lightsaber. It's very emotional.
Big Star Wars fan.
Big, very big, very emotional time. That Rise of Resistance ride is something else, man. We
want to go there. That's like, we were talking Disney because my husband's huge, and like one of his friends is down there now, and like he had that he was like, his post was like getting married, having my kid, best day ever, but this might top it. And it's just all pictures of him, and he's just standing there with his lightsaber.
I can respect it.
Building my lightsaber was one of the most emotional days of my life. I will give him that.
It was, and I got
awesome that you got to do that.
And I got to film it, which was cool. I got to hang out and like watch, and like, I always thought it was gonna be kind of like this little like kind of dinky thing. It was not. It was a full experience, like that he did, like building the thing.
I'll give Disney credit this, like, they do their best to immerse you. Like, it's all like sequel stuff, but they do a good job at immersing you. And the food is great.
Is it
way
really
better than so Disney does not fuck with food. They make their food good. It is worth it.
I have to pilgrimage out of the fucking park to get good food at Universal, because the Universal food inside, that's the only thing keeping them that's keeping them at number 2. I gotta be honest. That's what's keeping them at number 2. Behind Disney, is because of their food. I mean, I remember my fiance was telling me there's Instagram accounts that have millions of followers that are dedicated to fucking Disney snacks, not the food, not the drinks, fucking snacks.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like Universal, you gotta get your shit together, yo.
I tried the Leatherface ribs. What was it? Yeah, 2021, and I was like, this is. No, this was a bad idea. I go to Disney, I'm like, holy shit, this is like a 5-course meal. Good God! Like, the difference in quality. What's up?
How much you paid? Like 13 something probably for the ribs, right?
Give or take. I paid like $20 or something, like, because I wanted to do the Leatherface thing. I'm like, that sounds cool. You have horror themed food. That sounds like my jam, and it was tragic.
Yeah, he came back like a little kid that somebody stole his bike. He's like, I was like, hey buddy, how was the ribs? He's like, disappointing.
I've never had anybody fuck up ribs before. That was a first time, and I'm like, that's depressing.
And it's coming from Universal. It's super like come on, like you have Velocicoaster, you have fucking Hagrid's, like you should have decent ribs.
Yeah,
you would think.
One would hope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe eventually they'll try to up the ante.
I hope so, man, because and also too is like I think that something that's been fucked up though is the Rise of the Resistance. The reason why it was so fucking good is because it was a ride. It was an actual ride, and now it's too much. It's too much screen shit, man. Like and I think that's what's so amazing about Halloween Horror Nights as a whole is that it feels so organic, and I think that if they would have more interest in general, if they took the time to actually do legitimate rides again, instead of it, like it should be. Like right now, like most of the rides at Universal are 75% screen and 25% organic, like the Harry Potter, Spider-Man, things of that nature. That equation should be flipped. It should be 75% organic, 25% screens. Like I get it. Like you got to do some screens and you got to do some adding ons, but yeah, man, it's. I mean that's why like. I know Zack will roll his eyes, but that's why E.T. is still so fucking beloved because it's the last holdover from the original Universal, and Steven Spielberg put his guarantee that ride will never close, and it's still a fucking ride.
And yet he couldn't put his guarantee on the Jaws ride like I wanted. Nope, we gotta stick with E-fucking-T!
I do agree with that.
Okay, but what about this idea for a park? Like, this was discussed before with a friend of mine. They said, why don't they do a park of like the old rides, like bring back Back to the Future, bring back Jaws, bring back King Kong, Earthquake, Twister. Like even though Twister wasn't like the best experience, but bring back those pieces for people to have that. Like they're doing Epic Universe, so we're getting Mario, we're getting Universal Monsterland, How to Train Your Dragon, like all this awesome shit. Give the people who grew up at Universal or wanted those experiences, give them their park. Let them have that.
I'll even take a land. Call it Nostalgia Land.
I'll fucking fund it. Just give me the Jaws ride and the Terminator 2 ride. The two rides actually 3. There was the original Jurassic Park ride that I never got to ride as well. Those 3 rides, I will fund it.
I want Earthquake and Jaws back. The
Earthquake is amazing.
But more importantly though, like the thing is that I got to experience that I loved was I was at Halloween Horror Nights early enough to have it when Jaws was one of the few rides that were open, and I got to do it at night.
That's okay. Oh my God. I want to hear details about it, even though I went on the Jaws ride. I know it, but that we moved right at the year when they kept it open at nighttime, and the commercial was at like the ride at night, and it was like Halloween Horror Nights. And I cried because my grandma still was like, you can't go. And I knew we were moving, and I thought, I'm never going to experience this ever.
But Grandma, we can get $25 off with a can of Coke. Come on.
Was that really a thing?
That was really a thing. They had like Six Flags. They did a promotion for Halloween Horror Nights with like Coke or Pepsi. I think it was Pepsi. It was Pepsi. It wasn't Coke. I think so too. Because I remember watching the old commercials. It was really cool. Okay, so and I tell Zack, and Zack don't want to hear this, but But it got real cheesy towards the end. Like the actors didn't even give a shit anymore. Like they're like, oh, it's a shark. It was like Jaws, the revenge acting. They're like, it's a shark. And I'm like at least participate a little bit. But I will say this though, when it was at night, there was for some reason I think the actors had more fun. And also too is it was more like watching the original Jaws when you couldn't really see the shark. You couldn't see the animatronics of the shark, so the only time you could really see the shark is when the explosions would go off or when the fire would go off. But I will say though, when you go into the shed, like it's like they didn't make any extras. You're just in a fucking shed at night. That's what you're doing. So you're just in a shed at night. Like there's nothing extra. They didn't put in like extra things in there. They're like. No, you're just in a shed at night, and you can barely see the shark as it comes through the damn thing, but you sure as shit feel it. And when you're driving up to that little plank and things start going off, you could see it throughout the entire park back in the day. Like,
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
at night you can actually like, oh, there's Jaws.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it was great. And it made a leading tired ride better.
That and just like listening to the story about it, I can just envision the whole thing. And I just that's one thing I wanted to cross off my goddamn bucket list, and I didn't get to do it.
You and me both.
I know.
I was
but let's be hopeful that let's manifest that they'll bring it back. Because isn't there like, I don't know if it's active, but isn't there like a petition to bring the ride back?
If there is, I'll sign it.
I'll sign it.
If not, let's start it tonight.
Oh no, you have no idea how down I am for that, and I sure shit know Zach's down for that. I will get. We have a dude that's coming on like in a couple of weeks that is doing a petition to make Halloween a national holiday. So as soon as he's done with that, like I'll get him started on this thing. I'll convince him. Anyway, I'm glad I'm so happy that we got to talk about Halloween Horror Nights, because that's like. That's a huge thing for me, because that in 2008 or late 2007, my grandfather passed away, and my dad got a hold of magic tickets that night, and my cousin Kevin and I were the only ones that like kind of were like down to go. So like we got dropped off by our parents, and I was 17, he was like 13 or 14, and like we started talking about Halloween Horror Nights, and then literally maybe like a year and a half later, I was going. We finally decided to go, and then it was just him and I, and then we did it, and then he moved away to I think South Dakota because he was in the military, and I stopped going. I wouldn't go without him, and then I still to this day still go with him. So it's been a very very instrumental part of my life for a long time. So I love it, and I was able to have them tag along, and then Zach got to go and check out SeaWorld and see what they were doing, and which was cool. I think the one year was better than the other,
sadly.
But it's kind of evolved in this cool little thing.
I love that, because that's exactly, it's so important to me, because like that being a kid and like seeing when it first came out was so important. And then like my husband, he wanted to propose on the Jaws ride, and then like Harry Potter came in and fucked that all up. So like didn't get to do that, but then we got to do like our honeymoon, and then going with our daughter, like, so we showed her E.T., because I don't know about you guys, but like E.T. kind of fucked me up when I was little. Just like the end part was so, like overwhelming for a kid. I mean, and granted, we all know what happens, but so she watched it, and it was the week before we were leaving for Florida, and my husband came in because he was taking a shower, and we're both like crying hysterically, and he's like, "Are you guys okay?" And she's like, "No." And then like the end, she's crying. She's like, "That's amazing." So then when we went to ride it together, and I'm like sitting next to her, and she's looking at me, we get to the end and he says our names, she's like misty eyes staring at me, and I'm like, this is like the best moment of my life. You know what I mean? Like this full circle moment of me as a kid, and then getting to share it with her. So I totally understand how much it means and how special it is. So
that's really cool. That's really cool. I think it's amazing what movies and art and theme parks and things can connect to each other. I was Zach's a massive Star Wars fan, but I'm both in Star Trek and Star Wars. And I was watching Galaxy Quest yesterday, and like it's a good reminder of like how important like fandom is, and like and seeing and meeting people, and like what it means to people, and like in seeing all the there's the one thing I will say about the horror community, and I've said it 1,000 times, but I'll say it 1,001 for you. They're the nicest, most generous, wonderful human beings that I've had the pleasure of knowing, and it goes all the way from the fans to the creators to the actual stars itself. everyone is so nice. And sometimes even surprisingly nice. I've got the privilege of meeting a few people at signings and things like that. And met Brian Usna, who directed one of my most interesting favorite horror movies, Society, along with a couple other.
Yeah.
Don't get us started.
But that's awesome that
that was one of the first horror movies that we all discussed at length on this podcast. So it's like it's run the gambit for us. Like we've talked about it with many podcasters, many people, and man, I was so weirded out that he wasn't weird. He was so fucking nice, like beyond nice. He was a dad at a PTA. Like he was so nice. He's like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you guys like the movie. I'm so appreciative to meet some I'm like, why are you so, I just wanted you to be a little weird, just a little off. But no, you gotta be the nicest human being I've ever met. And just so and like, hey, can we get a photo? Yeah. Look, come on over. I think he brought in one of our other buddies that wasn't even involved in the conversation. Like, hey, just come over.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It's always a wonderful thing, and it's cool to meet other nerds and talk about how important like these movies are to us in so many emotional senses. And with Zack growing up with Jaws in front of the 13th, and they were instrumental in his life, and and then talking about the Predator honor code, and then me with Scream and Meta and just and how really really cool things can be said inside of horror. And also just being a fan of something. It's almost a human experience to feel like there's something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely. And like you said, this community, like I didn't know going in how like I would be received, like if anything, and just the people that I've met, I call some of them friends, you know what I mean? Like so nice. Like you said, actors, like just like talk, like some actors on Instagram will just respond and talk to you normal, like things that you post. Like it's nice because I felt like an outcast my whole life for liking horror and being like that as my main thing. And I feel at home, like in the community. So it's nice to have that.
We have a great podcaster person who runs a horror blog and website called TBM
Horror.
TBM Horror. Her name is Mar. She's out of Spain, and she had a great quote about the horror community, and especially with inviting people on podcasts. She's like, when I go to the fantasy community and I ask them to be on, it's always why, and when I ask the people from the horror community, it's always why not.
Yeah. I love like when I was we moved. We used to live in like a little small town up north. I'd go to like a bar and we would go out and I would start talking to people about horror movies, and I could just carry on a conversation like that. So it's nice to be able to come on and like just talk with you guys about horror nights or like our mutual love for Jaws. It's just nice to share that and be able to like sit and talk to people. And like I go on shows sometimes and it's supposed to be short, but we end up talking for like 2.5 hours. And then when we're done, we're like, oh, we could have talked for like another 2 hours. It's so nice and it's so refreshing. And I'm so grateful for it. I love it.
Well, everything's so fucking like, quick, man. Nowadays, like nobody wants to sit and bullshit. I guess podcasts are a wonderful exception where you can come on and bullshit for long periods of time and just say, hey, this is what it's all about. So speaking of podcasting, as people we've often asked, when did podcasting and maybe your love of horror kind of intersect? Because a lot of people are horror fans, but not everybody takes it into an art form. So I'm curious.
So I really didn't know too much about podcasts, honestly. And when the pandemic kind of hit and I felt like everyone was super like, I don't want to say divided, but just reclusive and everyone was, tucked away, I wanted to connect. And I'm like, what way could I do this? So I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast, not knowing a goddamn thing that went into it, technical stuff, anything that I needed, you know what I mean? So I started my page, and I think that helped me because I built like like a community. Like I had a whole bunch of followers before I even dropped my first episode. And I was so self-conscious. I'm like, who's going to want to listen to me talk to myself about something? Like maybe they don't want to talk about the Burning or the Prowler, you know what I mean? Like something that I want to talk about. So I'm like, why don't I find someone to talk about something I love? So Sam, who I co-host with on Feature Creatures, we did a 3.5-hour episode on Jaws because we love Jaws, and that was my first episode. So once I started doing it and I got like into this, okay, it's going to be more like we're talking with friends and we're hanging out and we're just having like a drink and going off on a tangent. That's when I just connected the dots. I'm like, this is what I should be doing.
Nice, nice. The so you know what? I'm not as familiar with the other podcasts. The obviously I know you're the main podcast, and a pretty killer, but I'm not, I'm not as familiar with the other one. So how did that come to be?
So he had one originally, and it was To Be or Not to Be, and he did B films, like B film reviews with his other friend, and his friend was going to school and kind of like backburnered their show. And I knew he was kind of like in a lull, and he wanted, because he was on my show twice. And he kind of was talking about really wanting to get back into it. And I'm like, my season's done. Why don't we just collab and do something together? But he wanted to do more like pop culture, butt horror, music, food, just like everything. So we did, our last episode was our top 5 songs that we play when we get a buzz. Like when you're drinking, what 5 songs are you playing? So we did that. And then we did like, what else did we do? A whole bunch of just random stuff. And it's fun. It's fun to have a partner that helps with like, ideas, talking to you, you know what I mean? So it's not all horror aimed, but
nice. The so on your on your main podcast, you said that you had occasionally have some guests on. Is that just primarily your friends, or do you pick out people from the horror community, or how does that work out?
So I've connected with people from when I started, which was nice to also like get a rapport with people and like a friendship going. So you kind of knew like, okay, I'm going to do underrated B slashers. Who would be on that, or who would want to do top 5 final girls. So I would have a couple guests on. I think I did like one solo episode, but I'm so proud. My mom hates horror, but she just watched the Scream franchise in 2 days because of Scream 6 coming out. And she started the Halloween franchise. And I've never been so fucking proud. Like I get these text messages like, why does Michael have that tattoo on his wrist on 5? I'm like, well, that's, and I'm like,
who the fuck knows what happens in 5? Who the fuck knows? It's a goddamn disaster.
I had to literally send her like a poster timeline. I'm like, okay, so you're going to go back and watch 1 and 2 and then skip to H2O. Then you're going to just think of 1 and 2, but then do 4 and 5. And then you're going to do 1 and then it's going to go to 18. And you don't really have to watch ends. You don't really have to watch kills. And she's just like, oh, okay. And then I told her, I'm like, but if you should watch it, all of them to get, because she ended up liking Scream 4. And I'm not a huge fan of 4.
I like 4.
Of course you do.
I think 3 is the most underrated comedy you'll ever see.
I think 3 is great.
Zach loves 3.
It's the only Scream movie I like
because he likes to make fun of it because it's so bad. I love the Scream franchise. He does not like it, although Zach has an issue with. I have a story about Zach with satire.
Oh, Jesus.
Zach has an issue with satire. One of my favorite movies of all time is American Psycho, and when we started talking about it.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys like that movie? That movie's so fucking stupid. What the fuck's the matter with you? Blah, 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 blah. Real Chicago, like, what the fuck's the matter with you? You guys are idiots. You hang out with an Italian long enough, you become one.
Right.
But nonetheless, we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, when I got to that card scene, I turned it the fuck off. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, Zach, it's a satire. It's a parody. and like a light bulb went off in his fucking head, and if he stood up, it would have cracked on his head like Peter in Family Guy. And literally we watched it again. He's like, "This is the funniest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life."
It's like, yes, watch it this time.
It's just, and I'm like, and it would bust his balls because he quoted all the time, man. He walked up to me, he's like, do you like Huey Lewis in the news?
That's amazing though, like to change, to have that like flip.
Well,
I love that.
All it took is
the biggest case of that ever happening that I've ever seen in my life. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, that actually makes sense. Okay.
And then it's hilarious. Then it got a new chord. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like that is the movie that with the movie that is a singular movie that I have talked about the most. And I say singular because I've talked about franchises and other things even longer than that. But that movie I have discussed ad nauseum, especially with my roommate who's upstairs right now. He is obsessed. We went to an 80s party one time. He dressed up as Patrick Bateman. And nobody got it except me and a couple other people, which was great. All the film students got it. But he'll tell it all the time and everything. Like hey Mark, got a new card. It's Bone.
And like his facial expression.
do you like Huey Lewis in the news? By the way, I know that album too. I always thought that he was a little too new agey for my taste. And then Sports came out in '86. This guy's I don't know how many fucking red flags you need, dude. You're gonna die. This motherfucker's insane. He's gonna kill you. What's with all the newspaper? Do you have a little chow? No, Alan.
Hey, Alan.
Now get in the door seals now, you fuck. I always recommend. I said great double feature: Wolf of Wall Street and American Psycho. So. But for some reason Zack was always good with getting Tremors. Even though that's like a lot of sad.
Tremors is a good monster movie, okay?
Tremors is hilarious.
It's a good creature feature, yes.
And my dad's favorite horror movie because he's not really a horror fan, but he's like, I can't turn it off. They're so fucking stupid. I love it. I love it. And then just Bert just gets better every movie. He's amazing in the second one. Zack, what's your favorite line?
I feel I was denied critical, need to know information. I am completely out of ammo. That's never happened to me before. That line will be one of my favorite lines in cinematic history forever. Thank you.
And now while we're there, my favorite horror line of all time is, and you could probably guess the movie. What were they? Psychos? Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are. They were vampires. They, you know what the movie?
Is that Cabin in the Woods?
No.
What is it?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Damn.
So all right, now that we're on this and everything else, what's your favorite horror movie line?
Oh my God. I have so many. Oh my God. I love Quint's. Not like speech, but his little, I'll kill him myself. I can't even think now that I'm on the spot.
You're gonna ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you in the ass.
Yeah.
Any of that, any line from Quint, I think is like my favorite horror line. Or, Halloween 2, Dr. Loomis. Is this a trick? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is. And then the 80s. I fucking love that. And then followed up with, I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the shot.
You know what? Not even my favorite line from Jaws, though, is can you do that? Of course I can. I'm the chief of police. Force fucking scotch. It's such a 70s line too. It's like, of course I can. I'm the chief of police. I can do whatever I want. I'm the chief of police.
The Italian in you coming out?
Oh yeah, dude. No, it's definitely that. I just love it's because he's from New York. That's such a New York thing to say. I can do whatever I want. I'm the chief of police. Oh my god, I love Jaws, and you know what's something funny about Jaws is the making of that movie is almost as entertaining and good of a story as the story itself.
I would imagine
of everything that went wrong that possibly could have gone wrong, and how many times he got fired every day, and the shark didn't work, and they had to reinvent the fucking pneumatics on the thing, and that scene with the head that was filmed in the editor's swimming pool, and they poured milk inside the swimming pool to get that shot.
Oh my God. See, I know like some little things about it, but the stuff that you're saying is just awesome. Like all these little facts.
It's insane. And like the only reason that movie actually got made was because of Steven Spielberg's relationship with Sid Sheinberg, who was the president of Universal at that time, who there's a great, and it's like almost a movie scene. He literally was sitting, him and Gottlieb, the writer, would stay in the same cabin, and they'd literally like Casablanca write the next day's pages for the next day, and then the actors would come in and give their suggestions. It was crazy. And Sid Sheinberg came in, he's freaked the fuck out. Obviously, he's the head of the studio, and he told Steven, he's like, Steven, can you do this? If you can't, it's not a problem. You're not fired. We'll put you on another project. We'll cancel it. We'll find another way to recoup the money. It's all good. But if you think you can do it, then I got you back. And he said, I think I could do it. And then that was the conversation. That was the conversation. And there was a lot of problems. The producers and the head of the studios fought all the time because I think they quadrupled the shooting schedule and 4 times the budget. Because of all the fucking problems because Steven Spielberg's like one thing. He's like, I want to shoot on the Atlantic Ocean. That's it. That's what happened. That's what happened. that was a decision that fucked everything. And they got their asses kicked by the Atlantic Ocean every day.
Like that to me is just ludicrous. Like I understand, I get it, but like what the ocean is so goddamn unpredictable. Like think of what lives under. Like the ocean is terrifying, and you expect to shoot a movie. Like I get it. I totally get what he was trying to do, but come on now. And I think the other awesome element of Jaws was Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss, their feud and hating each other, and just like I wish I could have seen Robert Shaw, because I fucking love him, and I just would love to have seen him in the whole thing, in the thick of things.
Oh yeah, it was nuts. Zach, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say all that behind the scenes drama led to one of my favorite behind the scenes moments when that boat is sinking and they're screaming, "Get the actors! Get the actors!" The audio department's holding everything over their heads. Fuck the actors! Save the audio equipment!
Save the sound department. I just love he was holding his $80,000 Nagra tape recorder above his fucking head, and like he slipped. And it dropped in the water. And he turned to Richard Dreyfuss and says, I guess that's a wrap for sound.
Oh my God. That is great and horrible at the same time.
It's horrifying.
Because Steven Spielberg was on a fucking bullhorn. Get the actors off the boat. Get the actors off the boat. And Richard Dreyfuss was like, he's 75 years old. Get him off the boat first. It was so,
we can swim, goddammit, save the tech.
And it was a big giant party, and they were all drunk, and they had they were and when they were building the barge on there, they would just hire random people who had boats, and they said, hey, you have a boat, you want to make $100, and literally just drive it out. It's finding random fucking people to do that. And by the way, that dude who says do what still lives in fucking Martha's Vineyard, and people fucking follow him around and still say that behind him. He's haunted by it.
That's Sam's favorite line ever.
The what?
The what? He fucking loves it, and I just I'll send that to him randomly. I'm like, there you go.
She slapped him 70 times, or 50 times. The mother slapped him so many times. So you get that shot right.
That casting too. There was something wrong with that, because that did not look like his mom.
Yeah, no, it was I remember. Oh, I got a story for you about John. You're gonna love this story. So Zach's already heard it, but my whole family is big Jaws fans. Like, they all love Jaws. My grandmother's read the book back in the day. She was a big book reader. She's a massive Stephen King fan. She could be on the podcast to talk about Stephen King, because she's read everything he's ever written, everything. And she read the book, and like, my Aunt Debbie was gonna go down to Florida. She's like, "Don't go in the water." They but she was taking care of the grandkids one day. I wasn't there. It was my cousins. It was my cousin Nicole, my cousin Sarah, and my cousin Kevin. I think my cousin Emily had an activity, and my cousin Kevin was probably about fucking 4. They watching Jaws, and and Alec Kittner gets taken and everything else by the shark and everything else, and he didn't quite understand that the kid died, and he kept asking, "Nana, where did Alec go?" And my Nana was like, "Oh, he just went home, honey." And after the 4th time of him asking, my cousin Sarah got really pissed off and turned around and said, "The shark ate him, Kevin. Now shut up. I can't hear the movie."
Was he like, "Oh God"?
I think it might have been less painful for her to tell her. And oh, by the way, Santa Claus doesn't exist either. Like, I think that might have been less painful than the fucking thing that she just dropped on him. Like,
that's horrible.
Well, you know, it's crazy. Like you think about, like, in the 70s. Like, the only thing, like, I mean, when did the Exorcist come out? That was in 78 or 73.
I think it was either 73 or 74, if I remember correctly.
So Jaws came
One of those two.
Jaws came after this. So, but still, like, people were not used to seeing a fucking kid get killed brutally on screen, and like, and people were like, "What the fuck is that?"
Well, imagine if they would have showed the full length scene that they wanted to show when it was him coming, like, in the mouth of the shark in that hole. Could you imagine if they did that? Like, that would have been.
It probably wouldn't have been get as much screen time as it did, and obviously, like, Steven Spielberg, like, the only reason they didn't do this because the fucking thing never worked. It was a great white turd. That was his nickname. Because it never, like, it made so much, like, all the back behind the scene, the grips and the electric would be like, this shark was so slow and so loud, you can get out of the water and off the island before this fucking thing could get you. Like, it was so bad. So they told that story with those fucking barrels. And the guy, the DP, invented that technology to put the camera in the water box, because that had never been done before, to get those shots of above and below the water. So, but yeah, it's crazy to think that they were able to do that, and that's in horror, and it's still so good, because it's that collective what the fuck moment, and you're not gonna see a better collective what the fuck moment until you watch John Carpenter's The Thing, when the head starts getting up and all of them turn around, and it's like, can you believe this motherfucking shit?
that movie, my mom's like, what should I watch next? And I'm like, The Thing. And then American Werewolf in London, because I think that she would be more into, like, the feature creature, because I was gonna recommend Haunt, because I think that was one of the newer, like, slashers that was kind of fun, but, like, kind of had, like, a dark side that she could do. And then I jokingly said Terrifier, and my husband's like, no. Like, no. Don't let her watch that. Like, back to Jaws real quick. My kid, so she watched Jaws, not, like, super young, but she was, like, maybe 5 or 6, I'd say, and she cried because the shark got blown up. She was so, like, upset about that. She was like, why? I'm like, well, because he's killing people. And I didn't say that to her, but I'm thinking, like, this shark is brutally attacking people. But she was more fixated on the shark.
Your daughter sounds like my fiance.
That's just how I was when I was a kid. I would always root for the monsters and shit like that. It's like, God damn it, they lost again.
Yeah, like, literally, your daughter sounds like my fiance. My fiance ruined people's careers at Halloween Horror Nights. Literally, remember that really, like, awesome wooded area that they had on the 2021 year. And it was really, really cool. And there was, like, a mole, like, rat creature and everything else. This thing came out. She's like, oh my God, it's so cute. Come over here. And I'm like, you ruined that man's career. That man was asked not to come back the next year because he wasn't scary. He was adorable to you. Just so you know. He was like, but I love him. I want him to be my friend.
That's how she was. That's how she was on this huge Gremlins kick. Like, I mean, she still loves Gizmo, but like she just, yep, she all about that. I'm trying to think what else. She has this like love hate, and I by any means I haven't shown her Terrifier or anything like that, but she saw the part where the guy is he's trying to buy the horn and he puts the money down and the guy slams his hand and Art makes the face. Remember how he kind of like looks at him? She saw that and she was like, he's cool. I'm like, no, he's not.
No, he's not. The
watch him chop his head off. Like, no.
Yeah, you know what though? For your mom though, you got to start getting her into some good horror comedies though. I think she'll, they get some Shaun of the Dead, get some some Evil Dead, some Army of Darkness shit and everything else. To stay away from them trees though, they tend to get a little rapey. Or Tucker and Dale versus Evil, another one of my personal favorites.
See, I was thinking that too, but she's on this like slasher kick, and I'm like, let's keep it going because so quick backstory. When I dated my ex-boyfriend, he never would go to watch a horror movie with me, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going. So I would go solo to see. I saw the Friday the 13th remake by myself. What else did I go see? But she came with me to see Texas Chainsaw, and I already saw it with my friends, the first remake, the 2003. And she's like, you need to tell me when scary parts happen. And I'm like, okay. And then the hitchhiker gets in the van and blows her fucking head off. And she slapped me. She's like, Jordana. I'm like, what?
Whoops.
How the hell was I supposed to know?
Whoops. Whoops. Hey, Zach, I just thought of something really funny. So she's going through, she just went through the Halloween thing of like, skip this one, do this one, don't see that one, and everything else. Could you do the same with the Friday the 13th series? Please. Please. Because I've never heard you actually do it before. Not all the way through. But I'm very curious on your perspective on that kind of thing.
So I say watch all of them. There isn't a bad Friday the 13th movie out there. There are some that are worse than others. I say part 5 is the worst, but it's still fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
The thing about Friday the 13th is it's like 40 years worth of 80s just packed into one timeline that makes no sense. It's like, all right, the first movie, they're in they're like late 70s, but still technically in the 80s. And then the next few movies take place in one weekend. And then after part 5, it's supposed to be like 10 years later or something like that, but it's still in the 80s. And then after part 6, it's still in the 80s, but that one's like even 20 years later. And it's not until you get to 9 where it finally feels like the 90s. Jason X, you go to space and it's the year 3000 and fuck it. And then Freddy vs. Jason, it's 2004.
It's the year 3000 and fuck it.
That was the best explanation of that timeline I've ever heard.
Thank you.
Yes.
God, I love Jason X.
Same here. That movie's fucking phenomenal.
And I do love Freddy versus Jason too. Like, what's not to like though there?
Yes, I love that one too. But so we tried to watch Jason Goes to Hell when we lived in Florida, and we rented it because what was that, 90? Was that 91?
93.
Somewhere around that area.
Around that time. So we rented it, and I was watching it, and it got to the part where he ate the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, ugh. And my mom's like, I'm taking this back. I'm like, well, what did you think was going to happen in this fucking movie? I mean, granted, I was still young, but I'm like, I'm okay with it. I just think it's kind of gross. And she made me like, we got in the car and we went back and returned it. I was like, ruin all my fun, man.
Yeah, man. Dude, I love the beginning of that movie, man, because they were just done with Jason's shit, man. those cops were fucking done with Jason's bullshit. They're like, we're gonna pump this motherfucker with so much lead that there's gonna be nothing left. All right, like I think that was their plan going in. Like that was some like some Texas planning shit. Like, all right, boss, here we're gonna do. We're gonna get more ammunition that's available than in Tremors. And we're gonna buy every available shotgun that we could possibly buy. So even the ones from his Uncle Ray who built the bunker for Y2K. Even though it doesn't happen for another 10 years, he's got at least 20 shotguns in there. We're gonna have a circle around him. When this motherfucker shows up, we're gonna blow him the fuck up. We're gonna light him the fuck up. I don't care that we're in a circle. We're probably gonna shoot ourselves. We are going to fuck him up.
The fact that nobody missed is probably the most mind-blowing thing about that entire scene. Everyone's in a circle shooting and no one hits the person in front. Y'all are some good shots, man. Good for you.
Great shooters, exactly. Sniping. Like any other time in a horror movie, they can't land a shot. Nope. They could be standing right in front of the dude and they fucking can't shoot him. But here,
point blank range. Nope.
Yeah. Well, you know, though, I will have to say though, like it was greatly written, that scene, because of how like it totally flipped expectations. Like he was literally going at, if memory serves correctly, he was literally just going after a regular girl, and it was in the middle of the middle of dark, and then all those lights come up, and I'm like, oh fuck, that was surprising. Like you never expected to see a movie like that's more real. Everything else after that was a clusterfuck, but like at least that was realistic. It was kind of like I believe it was it Halloween 4 when they finally like pumped him with a bunch of fucking light at the very end.
Yeah,
and I'm like, because like I'm a big 2A person, and I'm like, that's what people would do, especially in country towns. Everyone has a fucking gun. There was a stand-up comedian, who said this about the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he's like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was probably the most unrealistic fucking movie I ever saw. The remake. He's like, I'll tell you the reason why. This motherfucker walked into the Texas State Fair and killed everyone, and not one person fucking pulled out a gun. That motherfucker in real life wouldn't make it out of the goddamn parking lots. Like, and he's like, if this was like the State Fair of Oregon, that might be a little different. That like he would get through the entire, like halfway through the park, and like people would be in there like, well, if that's his feelings, I guess we accept it. Like I'm like that's so true. It's so true. There's like everyone has a gun in Texas. There's no way that somebody would at least even try to take out that inbred fuck. They at least try.
It's true. He makes a very valid point. Yes.
Yeah, I mean and that's sometimes too, but that's also part of the fun of the horror movies, though, is to fucking laugh about how ridiculous people behave in them, and every time somebody's, I think it was Zack who came up with that quote, or one of our friends who like anytime somebody would say why do they go do that? It's like, because the fucking movie needs to happen. All right, exactly. It just is what it is.
My mom, I could like read off text right now. She was like, why did they do this? Oh, no one's here. No, and like she's saying all this stuff. I'm like, Mom, it's a fucking movie and it's Michael Myers. Like, just sit and watch it. And if you're not going to, then turn it off.
Exactly. Like, and like, like it just teaches us, crazy mixed up moral values of like, if you have sex, you're gonna die. And then also if you say who's there or I'll be right back, you're gonna die.
And if you're drinking, if you're smoking weed, your chances are you're going to die.
These are all very true things. Which is so weird because horror is so like banned by the mainstream, but like it's teaching very like hyper conservative values inside of the horror movies, which is such a strange like dynamic to the whole thing.
I know. And isn't it crazy too that you say that about the mainstream, but like think of how like the past couple of years, how horror is literally thriving right now. Like I have to stay off social media because of Scream 6, because I'm not going till Tuesday. And it's like, and I know it's not fair for me to say that because people are excited and it's okay to post about it. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just so hard to avoid it. Even when people are like, oh, non-spoiler review, the opening scene, blah, blah, blah. And I hear one thing and I'm like, and I have to like, because I don't want to know anything. Like, I really don't want to.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You get one hint and it's easy to predict the rest of the film.
Yeah,
Thank you. Like, you get one thing. And it's like, for me, I would just put, I enjoyed it or I didn't. I wouldn't put like any sort of details because most people would pick up on, oh, with this opening scene, da-da-da-da-da-da. You'd be like, okay, well, I know who the opening kill is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I don't, thank God, because I've been like trying to avoid it. But damn, it's so goddamn. And I wish I would have seen it this weekend, but It wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And you know what to do is an interesting, you just mentioned an explosion of horror. I think there's something interesting going on, and this is another hot take. But I think that horror movies became too, and this is a very gentle way for me to put this, too A24E. And everybody tried to get that model, and then the underground eventually became so pissed off about it, they just burst out of it, like, with Terrifier, and like just burst out of it. And now the market has to shift, to everything else, because, we never want to dance too much into cultural stuff. This is not our bag. We're all about horror, but it's hard to not to talk about it. I think that there's too much of an injection of slapping political and cultural messages inside of there to the point where it exhausts people and you're not even entertaining people anymore. There's fantastic horror movies out there that have really interesting things to say. Night of the Living Dead was about ignoring a problem and hoping it goes away. There's some stuff about racism in there, but it was the 60s. They Live is about cultural decay and about everybody, giving themselves up and not being individuals anymore. The Reanimator is Reanimator and Pet Sematary have the same lesson of things that stay dead should, are dead should probably stay dead. So there's great things that you can learn inside of horror, but you don't need to suffocate people with metaphors to the point where, one, they're exhausted, and two, by the way, if they don't agree with it, and not everybody's going to agree with your very hyper specific allegories and cultural political views, and you're going to alienate a bunch of people because you're not entertaining and you're just trying to get brownie points for whatever views you have. And I'm sure that there are many different examples of all different walks of life where this is prevalent, and I'm sure we can look it up and everything else, but I think ultimately people miss the point is that they want to be entertained, and it's been exhausting.
So I love that you said that, because I was getting to a point where I was almost like gonna not cancel horror, but I'm like, I'm gonna step back. I didn't know what I was gonna get into because there's really nothing else that appeals to me. But if I saw one more fucking Men or like you said, an A24 movie, I was gonna throw the towel in. And then Terrifier, I enjoyed All Hallows Eve and Terrifier. So I'm like, bring back the 80s gore, boobies, ridiculousness, like bring all that shit back, right? Then we get slapped with Terrifier 2. And I was already a fan of Terrifier. And then now everyone is a huge fan of art, which is great. I'm not saying anything about that, but like, we need more of that. Or we need more, not so in your face, this is the message. We're going to pretend this is a horror movie, but it's just scary how long we wasted your time. You know what I mean? Like,
there's a metaphor.
I hate being, because I'm not like that. I try to, if this is what you like, awesome. That's cool. But I can't take any more of that I can't.
And I 100% agree with you. I hate A24 with a bloodthirsty passion. Again, if you like it, you know what? Good for you. To each his own. But yeah, I can't stand it. I think it's a bunch of pretentious bullshit. Just people trying to be like, and it's not even to push political messages. It's just, this is art. We're doing this because, yes, there's no logic or reason behind it. We just want to do it because, yes, it doesn't need to be entertaining. Doesn't even mean anything. We're just going to put a camera down, press record, and sell it for $1 million. That's A24 in my eyes. Not a fan. Yeah. If you like it, I don't understand you, but whatever. You like what you like. My substitute for all this shit has been Japanese horror. Japanese horror, Korean horror, like, that's the one thing Netflix put out that's good. There's a show called Hellbound where these demons come up, they let you know when they're going to take you to hell, and they beat the shit out of you and drag your ass to hell. Fucking love it. Alice in the Borderland, a great Japanese show where I you know what, I'm not even going to say anything about it because it'd be spoilerish. If you haven't seen it, Alice in the Borderland, check it out on Netflix. Fucking great show. There's a few more too, but All of Us Are Dead. That's another Korean one. Great. The Koreans and the Japanese have been putting out great content, so I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna stick with them.
And also too is
Train to
go
ahead. Train to Busan.
Yep, that's another one. Train to Busan. Fantastic movie.
I have never. recently a movie that has affected me in such a way, like, and I put it off, because I'm like, I don't know, because zombies aren't like my favorite subgenre. They're kind of like, in the back, but I watched that movie and it made me, I cried. I loved it. I thought it was such an amazing take on the relationship with the father and the daughter and how they did that, and it wasn't in your face, and then the whole I fucking loved that movie. So that was a nice break.
And also too is you can have amazing horror movies with amazing actors and amazing story and amazing things. It doesn't always have to be the blood and the guts. It could be something really fucking good. And I think I think that the first Conjuring proved that you can have amazing actors, you can have an amazing story. There's several other examples of it. I think the one example too is that I loved, and man, it did fly under the radar, and it's so fucking disappointing that it did, was The Final Girls. I don't know if you ever saw The Final Girls.
Was that on Shudder?
I don't know if it was.
I don't think so. It was the story about the girl whose mom was in a Friday the 13th kind of thing, and
no, I have not seen that one, and I've been wanting to watch that one because someone talked about it on my show, and I was just like, how the hell did I not hear about this movie?
It flew
under the radar.
It flew under the radar, and like Zack's been one of my best friends for about 8 years. Zack's not an emotional person.
Yeah.
Even Zack went, oh fuck. It earned every bit of its stripes of having an amazing story, because this is something you could see in the trailer. She goes inside of the movie and she gets to interact with her dead mom, but her mom is the character though. But she's still dealing with the fact that she's dealing with somebody that looks exactly like her mom. It is entertaining. I laughed. I was emotional. It had an amazing story. Everything worked. I think he got kind of gypped having to do it at PG-13 because they told him they had to do it at PG-13. But it doesn't take away from the main movie. Go ahead, Zack.
I was going to say he had a choice. It was either they make changes to the script, like the major plot points, or he had to do PG-13. And you know what? This is one of the few times where I'll say he made the right decision.
Yeah, because they're like, you got to get rid of the mom plot, and he's like, fuck no. And by the way, do you know who? And you know what's something funny? You want to hear a really good trivia fact? Do you know who he is? He is the son. He is the son of the priest from Exorcist, who wrote it and created it. And the inspiration that he got of it was after his dad passed away. He used to see his dad die in The Exorcist. And,
oh my God.
And he got the inspiration about writing that, writing the whole story based on his experiences.
That is so crazy, but that just made me like, so that's amazing. That's awesome. I want to watch that. There was, oh my God, what was one I just watched on Shudder, and it was Something Girls. I thought you guys meant that one, but isn't like Emma Roberts in that one? Or isn't there like,
no, it's, well, I mean, the girl that's in The Final Girls is Viga Farmiga's younger sister that looks like her daughter. They you go, is that her daughter? No, that's her sister. They just have a very large disparity. I was gonna say something funny though. Zack and I went to the Music Box, which is a very famous movie theater in Chicago. That shows old theaters. It's been around since the 30s, and we got to go see Predator in film print. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But here's what I will say though is everybody's always like they want to get the the PC, the entertainment and everything else. Predator is not fucking, dude. He literally he's doing the chewing tobacco and he's like, it's like a bunch of slack-jawed faggots, and the whole audience lost their fucking mind. They went, ah! And I'm like, are you like, oh my God! And we're in the middle of Chicago, it's a pretty liberal type of place, and people lost their fucking shit. They dying laughing, and by the way, best just right amount of audience participation. Because when he's screaming, he's like go now, and then some guys in the back where Arnold, and he's like to the chopper.
That is awesome.
And man, and I swear to God though, I had not seen, and I had goosebumps thinking about it. when he fucking came up and he's like, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and like slapped his fucking hand. You would have thought that there was a fucking riot in that movie theater. People were throwing popcorn up in the air. Like, people were like, ah! It was like a bunch of fucking like Pee Wee Hermans when they said the word of the episode. Like, ah! People lost their fucking minds. And it was, and it felt so good too. Like, and I'm like, this is when we're still talking about this movie from like 1986. They, but I'm like, clearly people don't necessarily need politically correct in their movies, because that's some really fucking unpolitically correct shit.
Dude, that movie is testosterone incarnate.
Dude, like I remember like the Honest Trailer guy said it the best. He's like, this, like when he did the handshake, he's like, does anybody else grow a mustache after that? Like a movie so great, you'll forget that most of it is quietly staring at trees. And it's true. You just really in Predator in the jungle where no one can hear you sweat. Oh my god!
You know what it is? It's like, okay, so the whole like A24 thing, and like Sam and I have had this discussion before. There's not even like any good comedies that come out anymore because you can't say anything. You can't imagine like South Park is still going, but remember South Park, Bigger, Badder, like the movie.
Yeah.
How fucking crazy that was, but it was amazing. And like, I'm trying to think of like older comedies, but American Pie, even like that franchise, you could never do that shit now because someone would be upset with something in it. And it's just, I get it. I totally get it. Cause I'm not taking that angle, but like, it's entertainment. Like, I think we've lost touch on entertainment, like what is supposed to entertain us. People watch horror movies to kind of escape, not to realize, okay, men are the real problem. Like when we watch Men, my husband's just like, is this really like, I get it. Like and we just sat and watched it. And I think we were just so angry that we finished it and we were like, what the fuck was that?
Wait. So I've been out of the loop of A24 because I just block all that content out of my everything. Is there really a movie about men now?
Listen to this.
Okay.
It's a movie called Men, and the man's face is every man in the movie. So like she goes to escape because her husband was abusive and he kills himself and she feels guilty and she keeps getting these flashbacks, and then she goes to this cottage, but this guy is a creep. So it's his one face. And then she sees this like guy in the field and she calls the cop, and the cop has the same face. And then she goes down to the local pub and all the guys in the bar have the same face and they're all hitting on. Then it's a priest and he's like, you need to feel sorry for what you did to your husband. And it's the same fate. And I was just like, people like this? Like, this is entertaining to you? And it wasn't even scary to like redeem itself.
It's just the worst qualities of men thrown into one movie, essentially.
And you're supposed to be like, oh, I kind of get what it's about. No, it's like in your face. It's fucking stupid. Like, why was this made?
And also too is like motherfucker, you want to play? Let's play then. Let's bring back Audition and Basic Instinct, and then let's play the equal game here, like because ladies can do some real fucked up shit too. I
hate that part because I'm a female, but I think it's so unfair to make this into a movie about men because all men aren't fucking assholes. Like, I don't know. It's too much of this, too much realism. I want a slasher. I want a good creature feature. I want an anthology. I want something. And if you're going to do something like deep, do fucking Seven about real embedded issues, people who have mental issue problems, and like do killings. Like, you know what I mean? Like Silence of the Lambs. Watch something like that. I can't do A24.
Yeah, it's just too much. You know, it's too much stuff, and you know, and the problem becomes that it's not about the art itself. It's about, you know, clout and being vindicated that you were supporter of X, Y, and Z. So like, okay, well now, we've gone down this path. Let's go down this path a little further. Because we've touched on a few of these things. We've now entered the age where it doesn't. I call it checkbox list films.
Yep.
Does it have this? Does it have that? Does it have this minority? Does it have enough film? We have enough gay people in here? Yes. And also too is it's not about the quality of the film anymore. It is about, make sure that we hire enough people of this demographic. Perfect example and everything. A perfect example of something that it works. So obviously, the director, I forgot his name, of Happy Death Day and Freaky, gay guy.
Yep.
And I guess that there is, he's sharing some things through the lens of his experience, but it is never, an overcorrection or an over thing of it. He's just telling a great story, and I happen to love both of them. I think they're both great. I liked Happy Death Day 1 more than 2, because 2 was more of a science fiction thing than 1 was a straight up horror movie. But Freaky was great. And arguably one of the best openings that I've seen in horror in a long time, because Vince Vaughn was fucking brutal.
I will say Freaky had one of the most awkward scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Which one?
Vince Vaughn making out with a kid.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
I was me, man, Ray were sitting there. He's like, "Is he gonna do?" No, come on, he's a teenager, man.
Well, he might have been 18.
I was like, you know what? They committed to the scene, so good for them. But
we've committed. We are now here.
Oh yeah, we are.
So I mean, it's one of these things that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be in this thing. We could just do entertaining shit and. And there's so much variety. Like, you can do it through the lens and everything else, but it doesn't have to be this overly big political statement or cultural statement. Just fucking entertain people. Sneak it in.
Exactly. And the thing that bothers me is if you don't like it, you have the people that push it. Like, okay, well, you just didn't understand it. It's like, no, I just didn't care to fucking watch it because it's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted out of entertainment. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just such a, I don't know. It's such a touchy subject. And I try to just be like what you like, and I'm going to like what I like. But it always turns into oh, well, you didn't like Hereditary. Oh, you didn't like Midsummer. You just don't understand it. It's like, I just don't fucking care about it. I don't think Hereditary is the best movie that has been made. Honestly, I would take Creep 2 over Hereditary.
Oh,
this is my response to the "you didn't understand it" line. Okay, what was it about? And they never answer. Never. Every A24 movie I have don't get into rant mode. Every A24 movie I have ever questioned, what was it about? What was the story? What does it mean? Blank face. Every time. I shit you not. I used to work in a movie theater, and I'd ask them, like a Ghost Story. I hate that movie more than any other movie in the world. These little tweens with no opinions come out. Oh my God, it was so great. Their boyfriend would be like, yeah, it was great. What did you like about it? What was the story? Blank face, walk off. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and I'm like, motherfucker, you just want to get laid. That's why.
I know that was his point. I was questioning the girl, just like, really?
Okay. Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. Let's go see Twilight next week. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus,
that's
Twilight.
The thing, though, is they don't get it, and then when you put them on the spot, it's like trying to explain it, and they can't. It's like, you don't even grasp it. So why even try to act cool? Because just because it's a newer horror movie that came out does not mean you have to like it. Like, I will sit here and say, I didn't like Scream 5. I didn't like Halloween Ends. I didn't like Kills. I didn't like X, and I didn't like Pearl. But that's just me, because for me, that was not what I wanted in horror. And then I get, well, X was supposed to be this and this and this. I'm like, okay, but to me it was a porno, and then it was like an alligator, which was cool, and then old people having sex. I did not like it.
And
so we're not talking about Jason X.
No, we're talking about X.
I don't know why I was just like, wait,
I don't remember that scene.
But I would take Jason X over X. Like, if I had to watch.
So X is its own movie. Got it.
Yeah. Well, though, and also too is the part that I'm all good, man, with live and let live and do your own thing, man. It's I only get into the problems when if you don't like this movie, you're X. If you don't like this movie, you're this or you're that. That's when we got problems. And that seems to be a common trend these days in the entertainment, because it never was in the world of entertainment. Like that never was the case, and don't get me wrong, like, the entertainment industry has kind of always been in the in the political sphere and always try to push a thing or two there, but like I'm not cool when you start saying, well, if you didn't like this, then you're that thing, and insert whatever phobic you wanna enter there.
Exactly. And like, so, but for me, I think the one time that I saw the horror community as toxic as fucking Britney Spears toxic it could fucking be,
2007. 2008. No, 2008. No. I was like Britney Spears 2008, 2007. But you don't remember when she lost her fucking mind and shaved her head and like.
Yeah, I laughed and went on with my life.
I remember the year. I mean, so did I. And then now she has to explain why her hoo-ha is on the internet to her young boys.
Exactly. That toxic part, that whole toxic part, was with Halloween Ends. And so I'm a very big Halloween fan, and I mean, like, I love and respect 78 because I think it's, and I know like Psycho and Black Christmas were the start of slashers, but for me, I love Halloween. So come Halloween Ends, and I understand, I believe it or not, I understand what they were trying to do, but do not market a movie calling it Halloween Ends, making it the final showdown between Laurie and Michael, and we get a complete different fucking storyline. And on top of that, you throw in Season of the Witch font. So you get me all excited thinking there's going to be some sort of, maybe a possibility of a Season of the Witch remake, something involved with it. And we get the movie that we get. So then, oh, you didn't like it? Well, you're not a true Halloween fan. And I don't let shit bother me. I let shit roll up. But I sat there and I was like, are you fucking, I got super pissed. I was so angry. I'm like, just because I don't like Halloween Ends, I'm not a Halloween fan. Like, I got so like.
It's been happening for like the last like 10 years on a lot of shit. Like a lot of, like, I think it's happened in the Star Wars community.
That's a whole civil war that we can. Nope. This is a horror podcast, not the Star Wars Zack rants podcast.
Even though I do enjoy those rants, he's just not allowed to do them during business hours because we don't get work done. And I'm just as fucking guilty, and I'll join in. That's what happens with Zack and me. But no, it's that bullshit's been going on for a bit now, like, and it honestly, if I'm gonna say something publicly on a podcast, the shit needs to end, man. They like, and I think like, and I can even say it on shit I don't agree with, like, I mean, I could sit here and be like, oh, you like the sequels of Star Wars? No, you're not a real Star Wars fan. I could easily say that, but I'm not going to, because that shit could turn around against me in about 5 different directions. So I don't need to be part of that.
That is that, but like, it's divisive. Like, it's the stuff is made so everyone, and that's a reason why another reason I started my podcast was, I don't like something, cool, you like it, you two like it, we talk about it, maybe it opens my eyes to like something that I missed, something like super serious, and I'm like, oh shit, cool, and we can have that discussion. Like, I know people aren't capable of having mature conversations, I get it, like, or are being so involved in something and loving something and defend. I totally get that, but people are entitled to their own opinions, and that's the beauty of it, and that's what I love about the community, is being able to have these conversations in a civil way, I guess. So I don't know, not to get like too political and like but
no, that's not even that. I think that's you know what, sometimes like you need to have like straight up honest conversations about what the fuck is going on. Like, I mean, like, I think that there's, we can all have our individual opinions and go across cultural and political lines, but there's just some like set standards that we need to go by. We had a great guy on, Raz, who's a podcaster. He's a haunt actor, and and he was in a master's class for literature. And there was a discussion on there about, what is the extent of canceling artists and authors from different generations, and holding them by the standard that we do modernly. It was about like H.P. Lovecraft.
It was also about separating art from the artist, because the biggest example I could give about a situation like this, Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
What the director did, awful, horrible, terrible. But before we all knew about it, we loved the first two movies. You can make debates about the third movie, whether you like it or not, it's up to you. But the first two movies, I grew up, I fucking loved those movies. So now I can't just say I hate those movies because of what he did. Which it sucks what happened, but I do genuinely enjoy those two movies. I hate the fucking guy; he's a monster.
Yeah,
but it's you got to be able to separate the two.
Yeah, and also
I totally agree, and that's such a good example, because I put a post, I had it something like one of the movies in there, and someone like DM'd me about it, and I'm like, I fucking know, I'm very much I'm aware of what happened, but like that does not cancel the fact that I love him kissing a decapitated head. Like, that fucking movie is so goddamn good. It was so scary. It was perfectly done, and it sucks. And you know,
part two with him, like, you know, being like fucking Moby Dick with the giant spear gun and everything else, like, you know, and just fucking, and then the ending of that was so good. You know, when the kids come to see it, and like, well, how much time is it? It's like about 2 minutes. They you know, and I'm like, oh fuck. They but you know, it was also too, you know, my point with that is, and I'd love to hear your take on it too, is where does that line end? The you know, okay, so H.P. Lovecraft, another example. The you know, he was in 1901 or whatever. Like, you know, like there was Jim Crow laws, and he was a man of his times, probably pretty racist. They so, and you want to cancel him. I was like, okay. They so what's the next step after that? Is it somebody that was adjacent to him? You know, it was somebody that was next to him and didn't stop him, and then you cancel him, and then the next step says, well, I disagree with that person, so now they're canceled. And then you do two things. One, you become a mob mentality, and two, you go into an echo chamber, which once you're in there, you can't possibly grow as a human being and learn and adapt and experience new things and be challenged in any possible way. So, but again, where's the fucking line? You know, how far do you take this?
And so cancel culture is so toxic, I feel like. And yes, I know, like, there are grounds for some people to just be completely like, okay, what you did was truly fucked up. But I get slip ups. We're all human. Like, people make mistakes, but I think the thing of it is to learn from it. So if you completely cancel someone and don't want to like teach them, or like at least give them a chance to like possibly learn from their mistake and to grow and be a better person. Like, I've made fucking mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, it's a human thing to do. But when it comes to like something that happened that far back, I think it's ridiculous. So let's remove this from history, because obviously it's not good, but like, let's move forward and try to teach people that we're trying, like the younger generation, that this is not the right thing.
Yeah, and also too is, you know, somebody's misgivings in history shouldn't discount their amazing contributions to literature and to society and everything else. I'm sure Shakespeare was a scumbag in some ways. He had large infidelity issues. He was possibly sleeping with multiple men while he had a wife in another town. So I mean, like, and that's not cool behavior. I know what those fucking sonnets were about. You think you're slick, motherfucker? You ain't getting away with nothing. You should, you know, and Ben Franklin should have learned not to write the shit in a journal that somebody could find later. There was a lot of theories about him too. He also did a lot of coke. Like more than Stephen King and Maximum Overdrive, a lot of coke. And it was legal back then. So it's a silly argument. I mean, like, you know, what the fuck, am I gonna stop watching Good Will Hunting because of fucking Harvey Weinstein? Like, you know,
if you want to attack Harvey Weinstein, you may as well just cross half the movies you've ever watched off your list.
Yeah,
the amount of movie. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You were going.
I was gonna say the amount of movies that man was involved with are probably in the hundreds. And there's a lot of good ones out there. So, yeah, the guy sucks. What he did was awful. But, man, if you really want to go that hard into cancel culture, get ready to cancel hundreds of movies, probably. That's a general assumption. I don't know if that's actually true. It might be in the 50s for all I know. I don't fucking know. I just know it's a lot.
Or half of Hollywood.
That too.
That's my other point too. So he was involved with the burning, and I had no idea that he was involved with the burning.
Yeah, he was. I forgot about that.
At all. And when I was like looking it up, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. But I still love it. But here's the other thing too. My hot take on that is, like, obviously he's a fucking douchebag, but how many people are doing this that are not in the spotlight? So like,
that too.
You know what I mean? Like we're focused, and yes, he's a bigger piece in society, but like he's not the only person that is doing scumbag shit like that. So like, where do we stop? Yeah. Like, are we just gonna?
Should we take at the list? Should we look at the list and see who was on the Learjet to the Cayman Islands? Should we take a look? Yes. Should we open up another case of Dan Schneider that ruined my childhood from Nickelodeon, knowing that fuck was into feet more than Quentin Tarantino and doing uncomfortable things with teenagers? He was on that fucking list, by the way. I took a look at the list and I'm like, there's a shock. So yeah, I mean, like, you don't blame the food service person, like, like how fucking far you want to take this, bro? Like, yeah, I think, like, and also too is like, there's not going to be anything left. There's going to be. Like, let's stop listening to the Rolling Stones because that dude was in a relationship with a 13-year-old. Let's stop listening to Led Zeppelin. God only knows what they fucking did. Metallica doesn't even remember half the fucking shit that they did because they were so wasted. And they used to have tub tars, and they used to have girls come and clean it. You think anybody was checking their fucking ID when they walked into the shower? It was 1982. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's we learned from it. We're better. But the crazy thing is, I look at these young kids and like, I don't know if you're really not that much better. Like, I think just young people just do stupid fucking shit. You know
what I mean? Like, I think back to the stupid going to like parties that I didn't even know, like the person in the field, but just going in the car with my group of friends. Like, I think back to all the decisions I made, and I'm like, I'm thankful I'm alive. Like, I'm really happy that things panned out the way they did, but it's just, I don't know. It's
my buddy used to have a joke a long time ago. Like, he had a friend in Woodstock. It was northern suburb, and he lived in Crystal Lake. I was like a good 40-minute drive and everything else. And he used to get there, and he's like, I don't remember us being on the same street. He'd fucking forget the whole ride. Cause fuck, it's gone. So, and I'm like, dude, it's 2005. It's not 86, bro. You can't do that anymore. Like, like when the cops pull you over, they're not gonna pour coffee down your throat. They're gonna or escort you home. They're gonna arrest you, and you're gonna go get a DUI. It's a different time. Yeah. My dad ruined that, along with the rest of my family. The ones that my nana who fell asleep, and at a red light. And got honked out by a truck and like slept through a red light cycle. And every time she would wake up, there'd be another red light. And until she finally got out of the car and screamed at the truck driver, "You fucking asshole! It's red!" He's like, "Lady, you've been sitting here for 3 fucking cycles."
Get moving.
That was 1988. So. And my Uncle Gary, who was fucking smashed, and he was driving. It was my Uncle Tommy was driving, and my Uncle Gary fell asleep in there. They went up from west, like 75th and Western, all the way up to I know you're not familiar with Chicago. He went 20 blocks. A cop chased him for fucking 15 city blocks, and the only reason he caught up to him is because he had to slow down to make a right on fucking Erie. And the cop pulled him over, and he's like, "Do you have any idea how long I've been chasing you?" He's like, "No, I don't." He's like, 16 blocks. He's like, "Oh, fuck." The cop was so pissed off, he let him go. He's like, "Oh, my house is right there." He was so mad. He didn't even know what to do with himself. He's like, "You fucking assholes." He's like, "I live right here. I'm already home." The cop didn't even it was too much paperwork for him to deal with him. And this is where all of our favorite horror movies were, like the culture that was around all of our favorite horror movies. And that's why they were fun, because shit really wasn't taken seriously. And you know what? And this is my another quick hot take.
Oh boy.
I know everybody gives it, everybody in like all these old documentaries and everything else are like, like they're like, I fucking hated the Reagan years and Reaganomics and all this stuff and everything else. I was like, to a degree, I get it, but also there was every single movie during the 80s, even the B and C ones got funding. And that was because it was a great economy during that time. And everybody had fucking money to spend. And the teenagers were in the video stores buying your shitty movie because you spent all the money on the artwork for the cover. So life isn't that fucking serious, man. Like, like all of our parents and grandparents didn't take it that fucking seriously. And they had way more reason. They lived through the 70s and Vietnam, and they had a lot more reason to fucking take it seriously, and like real civil unrest and shit. Like, so, like my grandmother remembers, black people not being let into fucking restaurants and shit. Like that's awful, awful shit back then. Like, and even they didn't take life that seriously. So it's not that fucking serious.
And it's so fun because I see it. It's so funny that you say that because it's like the shit that happened back in the day and to now it's like you have no clue. Like, buckle up.
No, they have no fucking idea. Like, I mean, like the story, I have funny stories from my family, like growing up in the city and everything else. And like, they tell me like crazy fucking shit that happened, like hiding a poor pizza guy in their basement because he was black. And like, literally the whole fucking neighborhood was after him. Like, that's shit like that. That was in the early 70s and like real Italian neighborhood, like, and everything else. So, but everyone in the 70s, like, but I guarantee though, like, some people went to the black neighborhood and they got the same treatment. That's how people fucking were back then. Like, you stayed in your fucking neighborhoods and that was it. And that's a problem. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. But even then, like with that shit, they didn't even take it that seriously. That was a serious situation for sure. But like life wasn't that serious. Like, I mean, and like in the city was a fucking like, people were dying every day. Like, they did their count. They knew like 60 people who died in their neighborhood. Like they knew people. Like, I mean, like, and they still didn't take life that seriously. And now, everything's way too fucking serious.
And like, and that's the thing is like, I get up and I work and I, take my kid to school. And then I'm going to school and I'm trying to like have some sort of, posting and interactions. And it's like, I just want to have a moment to like enjoy, like when my kid goes to sleep and my husband's in bed, I go down and I watch something off of Shudder, or I turn on Tubi and I find like an old, horror movie or something, because I want that. I want that time, the fun moments, like where I don't take shit seriously because I'm stressing in the day for work. I'm stressing for school. I want to hang out with my kid, but then I want you know what I mean? It's just too serious. There needs to be like a break of the mundane.
Yeah, exactly. The and horror's like really great for that. It's really fucking amazing. Great. It's really great for that. It's fun. Like I made so many good friends out of horror. Like, I mean, it's not that serious at all. So, I normally have a question in the podcast, but like, we kind of stole my favorite one, which is, what's your favorite horror movie line? What is we kind of covered about modern horror and everything else. What do you think is something from 80s horror that is greatly missing in today's horror? Typical honor, we do guest first. This is usually where I wrap up the show. We do a question, we go around the horn. You as the guest has the option to answer first, or you can pass. It's entirely up to you, but take it away.
I'll answer first. I think what's missing from 80s horror is like the fun. Like there's always something so goddamn serious with a movie, and I just miss like Chopping Mall. I miss Gremlins even, and I feel like the only thing that I felt semi close to an 80s movie is the Terrifier movies, Terrifier 1 and 2, where it's gory, the villains, kind of fucking like scary, and then you have the awesome fucking grotesque kills, and it's just you have art that's his mannerisms are funny, but he's terrifying at the same time. It brought me back to like an 80s movie. So I think we're missing fun. We need fun back.
Zach.
Yeah, she stole it.
Right.
Like you nailed it out of the head. Like fun. Like most modern movies I watch, I'm bored because I just don't give a shit. There's no compelling story that grabs me and just brings me along for the ride. That's rare as hell. And there's also no just ridiculous bullshit that I could just sit there with my brothers and go, that is fucking ridiculous. I love it.
Yes. Yes.
It's just it's either bad serious, which is the worst thing you can do because it's just annoying, or it's just bland, like nothing happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the truth.
Actually, you know what? No, I'll change it. Just good fucking storytelling. Just give me something. Even if it's funny, bad, that's still something. If I laughed at your movie with my friends or my brothers, that was a good time. You earned my ticket. But if I come out of there bored or mad, fuck you.
Yeah.
I want my time back. It's
exactly. Good storytelling. The 80s was full of it. 80s, 90s, and up to 2005 is where it kind of just... Yeah, after 2005, everything just starts going downhill.
It's funny how that worked out. And I think that all that is all true and great points. But something that I bring up with my fiance all the time, Sarah, is practical effects.
Yes.
Stop fucking using CGI, man. Like it's so fucking lazy. It
doesn't look good. And Compare the Thing remake to the Thing original.
Oh, it's hot garbage.
Actually, an 80s thing, not the original.
Not the original from the 50s.
Sorry, I have to specify because I know some asshole will be like, "Oh, shut the hell up."
Original.
And actually, technically, no, he's not wrong because the original title of it was A Thing from Another World or A Thing from Another Planet, and he clearly
these
said
people
the thing.
don't care. They'll find a reason for me to be wrong.
Well, fuck them.
I have pissed off the A24 community behind. I have made a public enemy.
Fuck them. By the way,
tonight, they're gonna have my face on there and be like,
absolutely, yeah, exactly. Hey,
I just want to start a parent company called B35. And it's just going to be making fun of A24 movies. If I fail as a horror director, I'm going to be a parody director making knockoffs of every A24 movie in existence. I'm sorry, Mark. Say what you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, if you're going to fail big. Go big, go home, Jack. But just, by the way, CGI will always be it's literally like the South Park joke. Like, remember the Guitar Hero joke and like the heroin dragon? Like I gotta catch the dragon. Like, it's like, don't you get it? You never catch the dragon. It never happens. And that's the thing with CGI. You will never be able to catch. I've only seen one movie where I went, oh fuck, like that's real. It was Rogue One. The Star Wars one, the one in between.
Rogue One.
Yeah, it was Rogue One. Okay, thank you.
No, they did a solid
job with CGI. It was great. That was the only time that I actually went, holy fuck, I can't tell the difference. But besides that, everything else is hot garbage. And practical is always going to be the best thing. And also too is I miss competition. I miss competition among filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember I was watching, if you haven't had a chance, on Shudder, In Search of Darkness. Awesome documentary. And I remember, like, I can't remember who said it. I don't remember. But he's like, back in the day, man, we were always like, you can do whatever you want. That's number one. You can just whatever your imagination can come up, we can come up. And we're all friends, but we're all trying to do like compete with each other. We're all trying to like outdo each other. And like, it was fun. Like, we were all trying to like, hey, this is what I'm working on. What are you working on? And like, it was this whole thing of like trying to, outdo each other, opposed to trying to do every fucking remake and reboot and sequel you could possibly imagine. There was the ability to take risks. And nobody takes any calculated risks anymore. I'm not for blatant, just fuck it all risks. But like, nobody takes any risks and nobody is competing. And that's the detriment to all these films, is that there's no competition between people who can do it better, because they all work. It's 5 fucking companies. Like it's not
Danny. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, there's nothing else there. So, so hey, we'll close it out. This is your opportunity to look directly into your camera and tell the good people where they can find you and all of their social medias, face tubes, and all your good stuff, as the young kids like to say in your TikToks.
Good job, Mark.
Oh yes. I'm on the TikToks now, and I send out my tweets. I'm on the Twitter, and you can find me on Instagram, and you can also find Feature Creatures DTF, a YouTube channel. And there will be a YouTube channel for Pretty Killer Podcast for season 2. So subscribe to that and check me out on the ticks, the tweets, and the G's.
Nice. And hey, thank you so much, everybody, for checking out this episode of the Nightmares Podcast. You can find us where every podcast can be found, whether it be YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, probably Apple Music as well. I don't know. We might be on there. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, if it could be so awesome to stab that like button, smash that subscribe, and click that little dingy bell to be notified every time we drop amazing content right here on the Midwest Horror Network. And you can find us all on our social medias: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Slasher. That would be the application for all things horror. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on the Nightmares Podcast. Bye, guys.